being on or about 6:30. Bring this meeting of the Easton Conservation Commission to order, April 25th, 2022. Let me just get the things out of the way here. So please note and keep them with an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency as amended by Governor Baker on February 12th, 2022. This meeting will be conducted remotely over Zoom. Attendance by board commission members will be remote, and remote attendance shall count towards quorum. This meeting is being recorded, both audio and video, for broadcast at a later date on ECAT and all the various other things that go along with that executive order. So just to understand that our intention here is to go into executive session to start. We'll probably be there for about 15 minutes, and then we'll come back into regular session. So I'm gonna make a motion to go into executive session, and then we will actually exit this one and go to the other link. Hopefully you've got all those links. I'm going to do this. I have to do this very precisely. Make a motion to go into executive session per Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21.3 and 21.6, to discuss strategy with respect to the lease of property managed by the Commission and potential enforcement and litigation regarding same. It is our intention to return to the regular session after we conclude the executive session. This is I need a second.
Spady, a second.
So Caulfield's with Spady, a second. This is a roll call vote. Caulfield's aye.
Carroll, aye.
Spady, aye.
And that takes us for our roll call for the quorum as well. So, okay, so we're going to exit now, and we'll be back in a few. See y'all.
Give Al a minute.
Yeah, we need Jennifer too. Well, we could carry on without her, but we'd get things wrong.
Yeah, I'm not sure how far we get.
Yeah, somebody needs to promote him or something. Like this is a different setup than before. I can't. I'm not a co-host, so I can't do it.
That could be a problem for the meeting.
She just made me a co-host. So
There you go. Everyone's so used to you sharing plans at this point.
yeah. Well, I can do that as a panelist, so I just can't mess around with the attendees. Okay, I've tried Al twice now, so let's see what happens. There he comes.
Nice.
Okay, Al, you're finally here. Excellent. Look at that.
Hi there, folks. Sorry, I was on the other one. I just couldn't get, I was not promotable, I guess.
Yeah, yes. Only
I
Tish
don't
had
know.
that permission at that point, so
Anyway,
sorry about
Hope this
that.
goes better.
So so we have returned from executive session just for the purposes of maintaining quorum here. We'll take a roll call to roll call attendance just to identify members of the commission. Roll call, Rory Kauffel's present.
Ben Carroll present. Excuse me.
Mike Speedy present.
Al, you just need to say Al Benson.
Albert Benson.
Present, yeah. Okay, we got him. We got us all. Okay, great. So let's start in on our public hearings. Almost directly on time what we told people would be back. So good job, everybody. 12 Harlow Street. This is a notice of intent for installation of a residential septic system. And we have Josh White, I think, who's the representative.
Well, then I promoted the wrong person. Sorry about
Yeah,
that.
that's okay. Peter knows to keep his camera off and muted, so we're good. There you go,
Hey
Josh.
guys, can everybody hear me?
Can hear you, yeah.
All right, awesome. Can I share my screen? I'll bring up the plan.
Should be able to.
All right, can everybody see that?
You could zoom that in a bit more than, so it's, yeah, that's better. Thank you.
Yep. All right, so just to start off, Josh White from Jacobs Driscoll Engineering. And we have this project before you. It's a proposed septic repair for this existing 2-bedroom dwelling, single-family dwelling. You can see we've got the inner bank in blue here and the wetland flags bordering vegetated wetland in green. And then towards the back of the site, there's an intermittent stream and more wetlands off to the back and a potential vernal pool towards the rear of the property. What we're focused on today is just relating to the septic, which is in the existing lawn area of this 2-bedroom dwelling. There's 2 existing cesspools in the back of the yard, in the back of the house. And obviously that doesn't pass code. So we've got a proposed singular tank with pump chamber into a drip irrigation system. We went with this system for a couple reasons, just being so close and having such a confined lot, there's really not a lot we could do. using this system allows less cover over the system, which in turn leads to less disturbance on the yard, which I said was pretty close to the wetlands. This is the wetland line in the back. There's an existing tree line a little further back. So this is the septic tank, that's the pump chamber, this is the new field. The grade change is about 1.5 feet higher than the existing grade. Slopes back down towards the wetlands. We've got the proposed sediment control along the right property line, and then enclosing the limit of work towards the back of the garage. And then we've also got some along the left side of the garage and the driveway, just because we're not sure which way they're going to get equipment in and out of the site because it's so tight, but just to protect the wetland on this side. We've also got some wetland markers on pressure treated posts proposed as well. I believe there's 7 of them in total. We got some comments back from Jennifer, and based on her site visit, and we took care of those revisions. She did note some brush piles and compost piles within the wetland area itself, because the limit of existing lawn is it goes further back. So the previous homeowner might not have known that there was wetlands there or not. So she recommended we show to remove the compost piles, etc., from that wetland area. And we're showing some additional wetland plantings, as well as a seed mix to restore that wetland area that was previously disturbed. Obviously, this property is very tight. There's not a lot of room to work. So when we submitted this and designed it with the Board of Health, we are in front of them for a variance for separation of groundwater, just because it's within the 50-foot buffer zone, which is a requirement from Title V. I mean, you can see the red line here. I mean, the whole property is within the 50 foot. So no matter what kind of system we would have went with, the local upgrade would have been only through a variance. So we are in front of them for that. I believe it's May 9th was the next meeting we can get on. So just to put that out there. Just some additional info. There's 2 catch basins in Harlow Street, far away from the work, but there are going to be trucks coming in and out with material. So we've proposed installing silt sacks in the catch basins as well. Yeah, that's pretty much the project. I can break down some areas if you guys want. So
Why don't we sort of just figure out what we want, and we'll go from there, maybe save everybody a little time here. So
Yeah.
Okay. Jennifer, you want to give us a rundown here? I know Josh has covered most of what you had to.
He did, yeah, he covered almost everything. Any plan changes that were requested were made. I would just ask you to stop sharing your screen for one moment so I can share something. That would be great. Here we go. So the potential vernal pool out back. Oops, I'm trying to move that. This is the potential vernal pool. In my investigation, I did find 11 spotted salamander egg masses. So for the public record, I am overcoming the presumption that vernal pools do not exist on the property. So I'm just going to show those pictures and then I'll stop sharing the screen. So then there are 5 egg masses here. That's number 7, 8, 9. That's the 10th spotted salamander egg mass, and these are wood frog tadpoles that have hatched. So we do have enough documentation to certify the vernal pool, and I'm just going to mention that they do meet Title V. Septic system has to be at least 100 feet away from the vernal pool, so and then the rest of the property is already grassed area. So it won't have an impact on their project, but it should be mentioned that there is an additional resource area.
Yep. One thing I just want to mention, and the plans aren't up there. I know it looked small on that plan. It's smaller than it looks. I mean, there is not a lot of side clearance on this. There's not a lot of. It's actually less room in the back. Like there's a backyard, and this system is just going in the only place it could possibly go. I mean, he's 6.5 feet off the garage, you know, so it's, you know, I think they've done everything they possibly can. I mean, replacing 2 cesspools and, so anybody else have questions?
I mean, I live in the area. I was surprised to see the vernal pool is as far away from that system as it is. So that was kind of a plus to me. And then I think, you know, the septic system that's proposed is certainly an upgrade over the cesspools, plural, that are there. So I think a solid effort was made here on a really challenging site.
Absolutely, yeah. Any other comments from the commission? Ellie, you're on mute if you want to say something.
Hopefully that'll do it.
Yeah.
Jennifer had noted something about boardwalks over the wetlands, and I just wondered if those were going to be removed as part of this, or do you want to just leave them? It's on page 2 of
Yeah,
It wasn't requested in my report.
I didn't have a problem with them being where they were.
okay.
I mean, I have no problem with people sort of using, you know, walking into wetlands. You know, it's doing something else out there that's the problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
Passive use is okay. So, I mean, it'd be cool for people to, you know, see that. I mean, I was surprised that there was literally a little stream back there. So, you know,
Yeah,
I actually almost went back to the car and got my boots because I wanted to go all the way out there, but I said, okay.
Yeah, the
Late in the
walk
day.
boards were helpful to locate all those wetland flags out there. It was kind of wet, so
Yeah, you better get some boots, Josh.
yeah, I know. I had to get the big ones.
Yeah. So I think I'm okay with it. Any other questions? Any public comment for 12 Harlow Street? Yeah, Harlow Street. Okay, so seeing none, I assume you want to close, Josh?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so motion to close 12 Harlow Street.
Maybe a second.
Caulfield Spady, a second. Roll call vote. Caulfield's aye.
Benson, aye.
Oh,
Spady, aye.
Did 4-0 to close. Any further deliberation? Are we good to issue a permit here? Okay. Make a motion to issue a permit for work and order conditions for 12.
Recording
Good
in
evening,
progress.
everyone. Can we see the plan up on the screen?
Yep.
Awesome. For the record, Peter Lyons with Collins Civil Engineering Group, representing the homeowner. This is a notice of intent for a septic repair on an existing single-family 3-bedroom home. We have isolated wetlands to the north of the site. There's 2 small pockets. The 50-foot buffer basically cuts through the middle of the site, and the 100-foot buffer falls towards our southern property line. The front portion of the lot is cleared out, and the remaining portion to the east of the proposed work is wooded with a BVW approximately 275 feet to the proposed work. The scope of work with this one, we are eliminating the existing cesspools and leaching trenches that occur in the back of the house, and we're providing a pump system. So a 1,500 gallon septic tank and a 1,000 gallon pump chamber, and then pumping up to a pipe and stone leaching field at approximately the 100-foot buffer. The field will be as close as 84 feet to the existing wetland, and the tanks will be just outside of the 50-foot buffer. We've basically tried to maximize our distance to the resource while preventing the need to cut any trees down. I don't know if you guys can see in enough on this, but we're basically going right up to the existing tree line with the overdig so that we don't have to cut into any vegetation. We're avoiding some significant trees in the backyard as well. So there's not going to be any grading change over the tank, and there'll be about a foot or 2 over the highest end of the leaching field, which is that northern corner near test pit 2. We've proposed a 10-inch straw wattle sedimentation control that starts at the rear house corner and wraps around the proposed decommissioning as well as the new systems construction and ends out at the 100-foot buffer. We've also shown 8 conservation posts to be installed along the northern and the eastern tree line in the backyard. Those will be right up against the existing tree line. Additionally, we've shown a compost area to be removed between wetland flags 2 and 3. That's a small area outlined in Jennifer's report, so we've added that to the plan. That's about it. I guess I'll take any questions from the commission.
Jennifer?
Any requested plan changes were made. You may need one more marker now that I look at it so that you cover the 100-foot buffer zone as well. You already got the compost area to be removed. This permit is only under the bylaw. So the isolated wetland under Wetland Protection Act has to hold a certain amount of water. These are definitely going to be too small for that. There is no buffer zone to isolated wetland under the state law. So this permit is only under the local bylaw.
So where do you suggest, you're talking about making it, sort of at where that erosion?
Yep, right there. Right about there, just so it covers the entire 100-foot buffer zone. And there's no accidental alteration beyond the existing tree line now.
I was out there Saturday or Sunday, and I think they already moved them off the lawn. So
Yes.
I think they already moved the stakes. So that was good. That was promising. Any other questions from anybody else? Peter, I assume you want to close?
Yes, please.
Okay, motion to close 306 Bay Road.
Speedy, a second.
Roll call vote. Caulfield's aye.
Benson, aye.
Carol, I.
Speedy, aye.
Those Caulfield's, Speedy is second, 4-0. Any further deliberations here? We'll just make the one change to the, we'll ask Peter to make the one change to the plan, but I don't have a problem approving and making that just a condition to issue a new set of plans with the additional conservation posts. Okay, Nice, sorry.
Okay, so you do need revised plans for that? There's no way we can condition it in to put it at a 100-foot buffer or something?
Jennifer, you want new plans, or are we good?
Well, plans are better, but we can condition that. It's one no disturbance zone marker.
We'll condition it in, so.
That would be great, thank you.
Make a motion to issue a permit for work order conditions noting that we need to add an additional conservation post located on the southeast corner of the septic field.
Spady second.
Roll call vote, Caulfield's aye. I could read lips, that was Benson, aye.
Carol, I.
Spady aye.
4-0 Caulfield Spadia. Just one other thing for the record, and this applies to the last one as well. We got a butters notifications for all of these. But just for the record, we do have a butters notifications for both 12 Harlow and 306 Bay. And Peter, that is it.
Awesome, thank you very much. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. Next up is 91 Union Street. I think we just have a continuance to May 9th on this.
Correct. And we did just get the beta engineering peer review on the stormwater, so you'll have that for the next meeting.
Excellent, because I think that's all that we're waiting for. So,
Correct. Yeah.
so that's good. So we'll be good to go on this next time.
Yes.
So make a motion to continue 91 Union to May 9th.
Spady second.
Caulfield Spadia, second. Roll call vote, Caulfield's aye.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Spady aye.
4-0. 560 Foundry Street, we have a continuance to May 9th. Are they really ready for May 9th?
We should be able to have discussion May 9th, yeah.
Okay, we're making progress here on 560 Foundry.
We're making a lot of progress on both of them, and we don't have any new projects for the next meeting either, so we should be able to get these two really dense ones in that meeting.
So we
That'd
had
be great.
we had talked, so I'm happy to make a motion to continue this, but we had talked about starting over so that we could get Nate and Al to participate, because right now neither one is able to participate in this. They aren't able to vote on it. So is there if we
We'll handle all of that at the next meeting.
okay. Yeah. Very good. Make a motion to continue 560 Foundry to May 9th.
Spady second.
Caulfield Spadia, second. Roll call vote, Caulfield's aye.
Benson, I.
Nice.
Carol, I.
Spady aye.
Very good.
Benson, I.
Yeah, we got you. Good job. You made up for the other one. Certificate of compliance. This is for 2 Washington Street. This is there was a construction of an outbuilding and
Very large garage.
a very large garage. Yes. We won't ask what the reason was for the garage, but
The barn and the corral were not constructed, but you can still close. You can still close the file.
yeah, the applicant's thinking about doing the barn and corral, but because it's expired, he can't proceed under the previous permit.
Yeah, they'll need to come back for a separate.
Yeah. No, I understand. So just telling the commission here. I got to have a good chat, so we're good. Any questions from the commission? Okay, make a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for 2 Washington Street.
Spady second.
Roll call vote, Caulfield's aye. Al? Is Al frozen?
I think
He
you're
might
frozen.
He might be frozen. He may need to shut
Aye.
the video off.
I just
No, I heard
say-
him.
I heard him. He just said Benson aye, so we're good.
Carol, I. Excuse me.
Spady aye.
Okay, so 4-0 for 2 Washington Street certificate of compliance. Next up is 50 Main Street. This is certificate of compliance. They took down some trees probably about a year or two ago, last year maybe, and 4 trees. So I have 0 questions. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. Make a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for 50 Main Street.
Spady, second.
Caulfield, Spady, second. Roll call vote. Caulfield's aye.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Spady, aye.
Okay, 4-0. Now we are up to the interesting part of the meeting. Jennifer's going to catch us up on some enforcement orders or enforcement actions that have been going on.
Yeah, all the other enforcement that I had started previously has been taken care of. So I didn't put that on the agenda, but at the last meeting, we did talk about, well, we really should let you know what's going on. So this is just a catch up. I don't expect, a lot of discussion on this unless you guys have questions, but this is just to introduce it and then let you know where people are. 55 Paquonicut is the most recent one. There was some wetland vegetation cutting. All the trees were pushed up against the edge of a dam or the pond to make a dam. I did receive a response from the homeowner. He's away for the next couple of weeks, but I will email him at his request just to go over what's allowed and what's not allowed and to bring that into compliance. 370 Bay Road. This was a while ago. They started the fence. I did notify them. They immediately cooperated, stopped doing the fence. There's a little bit of compost in the wetlands. They pulled that out, stabilized the area, but recently they started making a shed. So I did remind them they do need to get a permit. This is one that if the bylaw passes, I will be able to do as an administrative approval and get that all squared away. But that person is also cooperating. 570 Turnpike was a complaint we received that there was grading in the parking lot, existing parking lot. It does look like material had been pushed toward the wetland to make stormwater flow directly into the wetland. They immediately cooperated, put up the sediment control. They were contacting engineers the last I had heard about it. So that one I do need to follow up on because it's been a little while. 356 Turnpike. If you remember a few months ago, we did a septic system repair. There was a lot of junk, including a boat in the wetland that needed to be removed. The adjacent lot had the landscaping business. And then there was all new gravel and additional clearing that hadn't been permitted previously. We approved the septic system. The homeowner said that they would be hiring an engineer and taking care of that violation. I have not seen anything and it looks like new things are parked in that area. So that is definitely one to follow up on. 40 Forest Edge, there was a lot of clearing of trees, almost an acre. In a way, it was a little understandable. The message they received from previous staff was confusing. And then I worked with them to restabilize the area. That does require a spring site inspection. So I do need to get in touch with them just to make sure that the area that was stabilized isn't being mowed. 413 Turnpike is the Country Gardens sort of landscaping nursery area. They've been stockpiling soil. There was a change of hands of the property. So 2 separate letters went out. Last I heard, about a month ago, a wetland consultant called and said she had been flagging the wetland boundary. So I'm expecting that something will be coming in. I never heard back from either person I sent the letters to. So that it was good to hear that they hired a wetland consultant. The stockpiles are still there, but they have not spread them or done anything. 560 Foundry is the sawmill project. And I'm sure as you've driven by, you've seen the gigantic mounds of soil on the property. Any alteration of land that's more than an acre requires a permit from the EPA. It's called a NIPDES permit. And with that, you have to do, the applicant has to do a stormwater pollution prevention plan. And that's to make sure that whatever's happening on the site does not have sediment flowing into the wetland or dust flowing, blowing around the site onto the street, onto people's houses. They have been notified that they are required to get a NIPD's permit and to do the SWIP, and that the soil piles do need to be covered. If the project is more than an acre of disturbance and the soil is left undisturbed for more than 14 days, they have to temporarily stabilize it with seed or cover it with tarps. So that does require a follow-up. That had only been an email. It's probably time to put that in a more formal cease and desist letter, but still not an enforcement order. And the last one is 91 Summer Street. We had most recently approved the utility work along the common driveway. And then in the back of the property, there were maybe 4 more lots that were going in, but all of the work was outside of the 100-foot buffer zone. The recent tree clearing has gone into the buffer zone, 40 to 50 feet in a lot of spots. So we did meet on site today. They are cooperating. They know they need a restoration plan. This is one where I can certainly do a letter, but it is better to do this as an enforcement order, just because you'll list what is required of the person with the timeframes, and then as they accomplish some of their tasks, you take them off the enforcement order and then just sort of keep them going that way. We don't actually do a notice of intent anymore to correct violations because the wetland permit allows work to happen, but they don't have to do it. But an enforcement order says, yes, you do have to correct this enforcement activity. So I'll leave that up to you if you want to handle that still with the letter, or if you want to go toward the enforcement order.
Well, this one is particularly concerning, given that they did a very similar thing at 87 Summer. I think it was 87. In that they were going to build the home. They were going to build the driveway to go to these homes. And they found a different path to the home. So now they're not going to build the driveway. But I had raised some concerns about the fact that NOI on that other property was part of it was a restoration of the damage they had done into the buffer zones, and in one place they had actually gone into the wetlands. So you're saying that they're not required under that NOI to actually do that work?
They are. They know they need to do it, and you can go through with enforcement. But the cleaner way for larger enforcement actions that require restoration is to handle it all through the enforcement procedures, not getting a permit for it.
So is this,
moving forward, do that in that.
so this is the second violation of this contractor in a short period of time. I mean, for me, a short period of time, like 18 months, 24 months. I mean, I'm having trouble comprehending how that can happen, other than the fact he's got different machine operators out there. But I'm just very concerned that he's not paying attention to what is supposed to be happening.
We had a very frank conversation today with the owner and the engineer.
Yeah, I think Eric's probably lucky that he's not here. So if he's the engineer on this, so I mean, I'm not happy. I was not happy on the other one. So okay, yeah, I'd say I think we should go whichever way you believe has the most teeth. How's that?
I think it's appropriate to do the enforcement order in this case. It's all of the other enforcement that we talked about, except for 40 Forest Edge, were small things that people just didn't understand.
Right.
This one is a little more substantial, and it does require a large restoration plan.
And it's the second time on the same project.
Yeah.
Different address, same group.
Is this one where a surety bond may be considered to encourage them to act correctly?
It was discussed today as well. Yep. So they were directed to come up with a restoration plan. Make sure I know when to expect that restoration plan. They were aiming for 2 weeks. And then it would go to the commission to review and accept that plan. And then we'll keep setting timelines and tasks that need to be done.
Was this
would be
wetland flagged when they
appropriate?
drove the machines into it?
The buffer zone was flagged.
How does this happen? You know, I almost think that we ought to have the owner come and explain to us how we have the same problem twice on a project.
You can do that.
I'm in. If we can do that, let's go. And I back that.
We can request that they attend the next meeting.
Agree.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in favor of that. I mean, they really do have to explain to us what's going on because, I mean, you can see the other properties he's developing too. He's, taking down every tree on the property. I mean, it's a sort of an,
There's ignorance of it.
yeah, so.
Okay, so that's okay that I prepare the enforcement order, telling them they need to do the restoration plan and they do need to come into the next meeting, and then we take the next step after that.
Yeah, and I think yes. And I think that Al's suggestion is something we should talk about at some point when they get in front of us. Do you need a vote on that? Or are you good?
For an enforcement order, a vote is helpful.
I make a motion to issue an enforcement order for 91 Summer Street.
Spady second.
Roll call vote, Caulfield's aye.
Carol, I.
Benson, I.
Spady aye.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So we all set here on enforcement. Anybody have questions for Jennifer? Just a comment, 40 Forest Edge, about 3 years ago, we did a enforcement action on 12 Forest Edge, very similar situation. And so they had to, reseed, restabilize, plant bushes. So, we established how far back they could go and all sorts of different things. So very similar situation on the same side of the street. So,
Did you have a surety bond on that situation?
we have not used surety bonds very much, and it is something that we've actually discussed in the last probably 6 months, a couple of times. There probably will be situations where we want to put surety bonds out. I don't want to use them on every project, but I think where we want to guarantee that portion of the project is going to get completed, I think probably putting a bond out there is probably the appropriate approach. So, yeah, the only issue we've had with surety bond is somebody wanted us to release the bond recently. I think that was about it. So, but yeah, good idea, Al, for sure. I think it is something that we should just start using in a judicious manner on selective situations. As long as we're not issuing them on every project, I'm good with it because there's all sorts of paperwork behind it and everything else. I don't need to create work for the staff when it's just a septic system. So, okay, good idea though. Excellent. Town meeting article submitted to include WP exemption button bylaw. We're just going to keep this on the agenda in case the public comes in and wants to talk about it.
In case anybody has questions.
Yeah, anybody has questions? Anybody on the commission has questions? So this is an article about midway on the warrant. I think it's Article 12, I think, or 13. I think it's Article 12 that on the town meeting warrant for May 16th at Monday. So seeing no comments, we'll move on to the next thing. Meeting minutes. Anybody have comments about meeting minutes?
On the March 14th minute, there was just a couple of I's that were left off on the certificate of compliance in my name and the 55-pound Street. Both are I's that are missing. That's on page 2. And then there's 2 I's on page 3 that are also missing, the top one for Benson and the bottom one for Benson.
So is that clear? Just Al's vote's not recorded? So in 4 places. There's also the one correction under MBTA Communities Review and Implementation Team. The last sentence, it says if the plan with comments is due to the state by the end of May, it's actually the end of March. We just changed May to March.
On the, sorry.
Go ahead, Al.
On the April 11th one, let's say the text on 9 Hobart Way, I think there were just a couple of words left out in the line that says storage area 4, and then you need to add the words excess drilling mud. Okay. And then on the, there's a number, the 3rd line up to the right, and it says 8,000. That should read 800.
Yep.
And then I had one other question, and that was that Mr. Marioni seemed to imply that the name of the drilling contractor suggested came from the town of Easton, and I'm not sure whether that's a conflict of interest or not. The town recommending a specific contractor, and or is there any legal liability from such a recommendation?
So I think that from my perspective on that is that I didn't validate whether that was true or not. Mr. Marioni could have received a number of drilling companies that have operated in town in recent years, and took that as a recommendation of this one because it was the most recent one. I don't know. I think that in general, I did have a conversation with Jennifer earlier, and just, you know, our own policy is not, we give them a list and say it's up to you to choose. And so I do agree that it's probably good practice, and you know, ask Jennifer to sort of if that comes up again, to make sure that that we're not doing that. I think that must have come from DPW and not us. It didn't, you know, it didn't come from us. So.
Not sure where it would have come from, because the town isn't really you can't call the town.
Right.
So
I agree with the concept, Al. I don't know what to do with it at this point, other than the fact that Mr. Marioni made a statement. Whether or not it's accurate or not is a whole nother story. So, any other comments on the minutes? Okay, so seeing none, and make a motion to accept the meeting minutes for March 14th and April 11th with the minor changes noted.
Spady, second.
Roll call vote. Caulfield's aye.
Carol, I. Sorry,
Benson, I.
Spady, aye.
old habit.
Very good. And under chair report, I just want to continue to sort of think about this, and maybe at our next meeting have some ideas about areas where each one of us can make sure that we can turn to you and you say, I've checked everything out regarding wildlife. It's all good on this. Like, if we have any questions, we could point to somebody, or stormwater or waivers or anything along those lines, just to make sure like we've got all the paperwork for waivers when they're required, just to sort of keep everybody participating, and maybe even give you an avenue to feel like you're specializing in a specific part of the regs, that maybe make it easier for you to have a good idea of what those regs are, when, as opposed to trying to absorb them all. I know that in speaking with some newer members, the regs can be a little bit much to sort of bring into focus on every single application. So, I want to do that. Anybody have any thoughts about what they want to volunteer to participate in, so that I could delegate it to you?
Yeah,
I'll take
just
one.
a quick, go ahead.
Go, bud.
Just a quick thing that would be helpful to me. Would it be possible for you to send us a list of the areas? Because I, off the top of my head, don't know all the areas that would be helpful as a category. So
Yeah,
if you wouldn't mind, at least for me, since I,
absolutely.
just getting started.
Sure. I'll compile one and maybe ask Jennifer to give me some input on it, and then I'll circulate it around to everybody. Just don't reply all on them. In fact, I'll blind CC so you can't reply all.
Okay.
So we'll do the discussion in a public session. But good idea, Al. And that way we can include Nate on this. I've had an off the meeting conversation with Nate about this, just to present the idea. He was very interested in that as well. So I think that people are starting to get their feet under them. So let's start taking advantage of that for sure. So good idea, Al. Thank you.
Yeah, I volunteer Mike for wildlife, but let me know where you need me, Coach.
I agree with Mike for wildlife. I was out on the 560 Foundry Street walk with Mike, and there was not a piece of deer poop that Mike missed.
Always gotta be looking.
Jennifer, next time you're going on a salamander hunt, will you text me or something? Because that was really cool.
So
Yes.
there are 5 vernal pools at 524 Depot Street that probably are certifiable. If anybody wanted to go out and see them. So I've been out. I actually was out, and I thought a member of the public was going to submit the paperwork, and I don't think it ever got submitted. So, but there's 5 out there. So I've got the pictures and everything if you want to. So
I'm tempted. I want to
It's
go see
fun.
some salamander pods. That was cool.
that's very cool.
If I touch them,
Do you
is
have
Jennifer going
waders?
to arrest me though? Is the question.
Yeah. Do you have waders?
I have muck boots that go up just past my knee. So we're not quite talking waders, but
Well, I'll lend you my waders. Because you really do have to get. It's the most fun to actually get in with your waders and not worry about where you're stepping.
become part of the vernal pool.
Yes,
Mhm.
it really does make a difference, for sure. One other thing, I did go out last weekend and do water sampling for the acid rain monitoring project, which is I definitely get to get my waders out in that period of time. So I did go one place, beautiful. It looked like they did a restoration. They must have done a bridge over this stream and a side road way off in Raynham, and they did a restoration. There's plantings right up against the stream and everything else, and it's totally undisturbed because nobody does anything with it. So I was very careful not to walk anywhere where I could do something, but it really is sort of an interesting thing. And then, of course, my last sampling was at Factory Pond, so you can imagine that wasn't so interesting, but still, it really is quite an interesting thing to sort of go into it. And that river that comes out of Winnicott, there it moves pretty quick, and it's deep.
Snake River.
Yeah, Snake River, it moves pretty quick.
Yeah, it's deep.
Yeah. Definitely deep, and it's got a rocky bottom, so there's no place to put your foot or anything. So you got to be careful where you're going. So that's chair report. Community Preservation Commission update. Just 2 things of note. One is last meeting we voted to forward two items to the town meeting warrant. One is for a fence, historic fence over in Furnace Village on the corner of Pequannock and Foundry. And the other thing was that we authorized putting a warrant article on for the, it's involved in the land purchase of that 5559 Pond Street, which is called the Island. It's east of Shovel Shop Pond. It was 2 lots. We actually had them before us at the last meeting to, they talked about an extension or a partial COC where we gave them the partial COC. Because if everything goes through at town meeting, the trustees of the reservation will actually purchase the property and will purchase the conservation restriction on the property. So that's quite exciting. I mean, that's a great, use of funds because that deserves to be preserved, because it's right between Langwater Pond and Shovel Shop Pond. So right next to the trustees of the reservation Ames property, their Governor Ames property. So that's significant for us because that's obviously involves us. The other thing was on there is just Oaks Ames Memorial Hall. If anybody didn't know, there was some damage to a couple of the trusses, and they actually had to shut down the building. And so we're working with the trustees of the building to get those repairs done under a historic preservation, because that's one of the CPC foundations as well. I think that's about it for the CPC. And environmental planner updates.
Yeah, my only update is Canoe River Aquifer Public Workshop is this Thursday. It is on Zoom and it's from 6 to 7:30, where we'll take a look at potential projects in town and then try to figure out how they can be funded. Yeah. I am submitting 2 grant applications under the MVP program. One is for funds to do the bylaw regulation update. And the other one is to continue Sam Wright Field and include the upgrade of the Highland Street culvert over Mulberry Meadowbrook. Now I just need it to be quiet for a few minutes so I can write it all down.
Anything else?
Recorded?
Go ahead,
No.
Mike.
Is that going to be recorded Thursday too, or no?
I believe they do record it and they
Okay.
keep it on their, the SNEP website.
Cool.
Okay, anything else from anybody else? Okay. Another fantastic meeting. So, sorry, Jen, we exceeded the 1 hour, Jen, I'm sorry.
All good discussion.
Very good. I really appreciate everybody's hard work and input. It means a lot to me. And I know it actually makes for a better meeting when everybody's engaged and participating. So, motion to adjourn.
Second,
There you go.
Caulfield's Benson with the second. Roll call vote. Caulfield's aye.
Benson, aye.
Carol, I.
Matey, aye.
Very good. 4-0. See
Thank
you guys
you.
all in a couple weeks.
See you
Yeah.
soon.
Bye.
Thank you.